Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're taking a look at a very high-level game that was played quite recently here on Supreme Isthmus. You know, I really got to start checking the dates before I keep saying quite recently here. I guess we'll see just how recent this replay was. I didn't actually check the date on this one. Before or after the patch. You know, not usually does it matter too much, but there was quite the substantial patch, so I guess I should be a little bit more careful when I say that, huh? Today's spawning is the blue team commander, right up here on the front of everybody's favorite Supreme Isthmus. Supreme Isthmus version 2.0, I might add. It's going to be none other than Usurper. Usurper clocking in at 45 open skill and silver chevrons to boot. Going to be showing us some top tier Cortex frontline gaming. Going to go for, Radar Tower. Oh, okay. I know exactly when this match was played. Happy April Fools to everybody who was able to enjoy the event. And if you weren't, then maybe a little bit of a clue as to what exactly went on here. As you can see, we've got some, some very, very funny units going on here, and I believe there are quite a few other units as well that have some funny hats going on. Yeah, that's wonderful. The New Year's event was, or not New Year's, pardon me, the April Fool's event was tons of fun. I always love when games do some sort of fun, you know, April Fool's kind of shenanigans, either, you know, fun soundtracks or little hats on top of wind turbines, whatever it happens to be. Back to this match, though. The Blue Commander going into vehicles here on the front line. Kind of interesting. Not a play... Wait, first of all, going into Radar Tower, which is kind of interesting. I guess to make sure that no ticks come across super early. And then going into vehicles right off the bat here is, again, very, very interesting. Not something that we see very often out of the... Yeah, you can even see the question marks rolling in here. Not something we see very often off of the top league Supreme Isthmus players. Yeah, that's a weird sentence, but... yeah, it's just the truth. The bot start is far and away considered supreme. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will be here all evening for the simple fact that we have these bad boys, the Lazarus or the Grave Robber, whichever is your pick here. Lazarus for Armada and Grave Robber for Cortex. But these are, yeah, they contain a. I just realized the music is different too. They contain the ability, of course, to reclaim a whole bunch of the wreckage from this midsection. And as you can see, over 1,000 metal right here in the midsection. Obviously well worth trying to reclaiming. So right off the bat, the red team off to a tremendous start. This song is very slow right now. I feel like we could move a little bit further up the acceleration chain, as we're already off to a ripping start right here. With the gigantic collision between a whole bunch of these players, we've already seen the pink pawns that have been rushed out right now by the pink commander going ahead and protecting these resbots while they eat up all of those very, very valuable metals from the front line. Not to mention, of course, that we could also reclaim these tank shells, which would be really, really nice. Grunts moving in with their little mohawks, doing their very best grunty things. Oh, I love to see it. These ones are wearing little hats as well. I love that. They've got a little, I don't know, it's like a hamburger? I'm not sure exactly what that is, but they've got a little hat, and I love to see it. Usurper finally able to kill one of those resbots right here, but far and away a very effective trade right there for both the pink and brown commanders, who both managed to reclaim. Definitely well worth their value here on the front line. I will say, though, a little bit slower to get actual units out on the field. Interesting strat right here with the red commander has gone ahead and decided to go for a missile truck here, a construction turret, and a amphibious laboratory, aka a shipyard here. Okay. I don't hate it all too terribly. I mean, obviously those shipyards are what you want to aim for here in the sea. We do already have Hasaki, the lavender commander for the blue team, clocking in at 14 open skill, going to be with boats in the water, but maybe not aware of exactly how dangerous it is when you see this commander out on the field already. Metal extractors removed from the islands over here. That's one of the bigger changes. The other, of course, being the geothermal, which was moved a little bit further away from the island. I want to say the geo was probably right about where this metal extractor is actually nowadays. Yeah, it's been moved away a little bit, so it grants this base a little bit more protection. It means that if you lose the sea, you don't immediately lose the geothermal position. It's almost guaranteed to happen immediately afterwards, but you don't lose it immediately, and that's really important here. Shuriken being shown on the front line right here. Usurper just pushing forward with those missile trucks, trying to whittle down whatever they can. And we do have a beamer turret up right now from Hydra as well, trying to defend. And I would love to see a little bit of repair. Ooh, some of these units going to go down to those missile trucks, firing away. That is the danger of the missile truck, after all, being able to slowly but surely whittle down these forces and do tons and tons of damage over time. It adds up very, very quickly. But okay, here we are. We have a couple of Dolphins out on the field. How well do Dolphins go up against a single frigate? I do believe Dolphins versus one frigate actually win that fight if they get a perfect surround. Not the case here, though. Yeah, you can see the splits are, or at least we're aiming for the splits here. Trying to peel off one of those dolphins. I think we eventually take this trade. It's a matter of broadsiding, though, so that both of those cannons are firing, and there we go. That frigate does eventually go down. Destroyer is killed right here. Oh, no. How on earth did the destroyer go down? I guess not paying attention to the submarine, or otherwise unable to kill it for one reason or another, but there we go. Oh, no, this is a terrible, terrible position all of a sudden for the Red Commander. Submarine right here just relaxedly firing away at this, this production facility here. Farming up that juicy experience one shot at a time here, buying time for more units to come in and save the day. One Dolphin and one patrol boat are out on the field so far, but as of exactly right now, that really does not make that big of a difference. Those are not going to be able to get all too much value. There's a HLT on the water, a Coral, heavy floating laser tower, ripe and ready to go over there. Kind of interesting to see. We don't see those all too often here. Beamer turret to defend against this incoming push here. Oh, the heavy laser tower actually baits out the attack from the green forces right here. The pink commander stays up and running. That beamer turret carving apart these frontline forces here. Lovely stuff. I'd love to see a radar tower directly behind this. This one might be providing enough vision, actually. Yeah, actually providing just enough vision right there for that beamer turret to do its job. Very nice to see. Missile truck numbers are continuing to grow right here for Usurper. Now, this is one of the other cool things, is that against those missile trucks, you can obviously build walls, and they're very, very good against the missile trucks because they can't shoot up and over the walls like, for instance, plasma projectiles can. Means that if you push really smartly with the walls and a bunch of thugs, you can actually outpace these quite effectively here. Beamer turret on the front does eventually go down right now. Mace is on the front line to try and retaliate, but not really going to matter all too much. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to do all too much. Shuriken over here to paralyze any static defenses, but there is none, so the Red Commander is going to get these metal extractors nicely. And now the base in the backline is essentially just for economy production. We do have the Constructor building a geothermal up on the high ground, and of course we have that laboratory pumping out more and more units when and wherever we can. Submarine has been resurrected here and will likely be used offensively now against the Lavender Commander. We are also going to resurrect the Destroyer, of course, and try and get a couple more of these red subs up and running to use those out on the field. Lo and behold, a single Skuttle. Spooter friend apparently donating the entire base right here. Yeah, okay, it looks like the entire base has been donated to Shoddy in order to micro the Skuttle here. Metal production, energy production, both very, very low, at least for this late into the game. And I think that's because the only unit that's really on the board right now for Spooter Friend is this Spooter Friend right here. 4 legs in a dream crawling across the wasteland right here. Not amphibious. Pardon me, amphibious, certainly. Not all-terrain. That's why it only has 4 legs instead of 6. For those of you that have been asking about the Vanguard and why that change was made, it is simply to communicate that that is all-terrain. What are we gonna do with it? We've got a floating laser tower coming up on the coast right here. We've also got a gigantic navy built up right here by Kane. A lot of frigates, but we do also have some destroyers in there. Where shall the Skuttle here go? Keep in mind, of course, this is cloaked, so it doesn't really... Oh, very close. Very, very, very close. Okay. Very close call right there. This this coastal torpedo launcher, coastal defensive structure here, almost managing to kill that Skuttle by pure blind luck, but the Skuttle will make it out of that attack range and into the backline. Here's what Spooter Friend sees. Doing a little scouting with this cloaked friend before... Oh, come on. Boom goes the base. The base goes up in smoke, is immediately knocked completely out of existence. That thermonuclear condensed projectile explosive detonates the base right there for the Powder Blue Commander, Booza. Loses the T2 laboratory as well as all the build power right there. What a brutal way to go out. Obviously, the Tick quite, or the, not the Tick, pardon me, the Skuttle quite counterable by, of course, just spam units, things like ticks and pawns, that sort of thing. But when you're going for that tech roll, you don't necessarily have that kind of stuff because you're mostly focused on getting those single high-value targets out. So now Booza is way behind. That's 3,000 metal down the drain, and that's a wonderful hit right here from the, the red economy in general, the red team in general. We do have another one on the way, but of course each of these scuttles costs 27,000 energy, so it takes a village to produce one of these scuttles, or at the very least a fusion reactor or 2. And now that that's up and running here for Shoddy, certainly more and more of these scuttles will be coming out of the laboratory and making their way across the map. Skuttle Gaming, ladies and gentlemen, Skuttle Gaming. Now, I did see T2 on the front line there. Yeah, we've got a couple of Mauser that have been nice for pushing back these T1 forces. As you can see, absolutely devastating against any of those T1 missile trucks right here. But, of course, as you move later and later into this game, even those T2, or what are they called? Mauser, not Vanguard. The T2 Mauser even can start to be overrun by simple swarm forces. Destroyer and frigate composition over here have managed to take down a couple of these metal extractors, and now the Lavender Commander is forced to invest in some static defenses. We have submarines out, which is not bad, but you do need a little bit more than that if you're going to be going up against those destroyers. Destroyers basically handcrafted to destroy submarines. They are extremely efficient at it. And here comes the submarine, ready to rip and tear through that economy until the Lavender Commander Hasaki is done. Another Skuttle. Oh, there it is. Another Skuttle on the way. We've got more and more of these coming out to the front lines here. I love this. So this is, I mean, you know, maybe a little bit of a underutilization of the probably total APM here of Spooderfriend, a very talented player. Shoddy, likewise, at 35 open skill and a tournament winner, certainly capable of microing some of the most complex unit compositions in the game, and instead is going for the one composition rules them all sort of strategy here. Oh, Mauser trying their best. Nothing can do it. Boom goes the Skuttle right there as suddenly the gauntlet goes down as well. 1,250 metal directly down the drain. Hasaki, rather, in a little bit of trouble here. There goes that destroyer. Again, firing away here at whatever it can. Submarines, commander, you name it. Happy to launch those homing torpedoes at whatever they can find. And destroyer is getting real low, though. I wouldn't be surprised if that submarine could actually eventually kill that. Mass submarine. What an interesting composition here. Difficult to repair, certainly, but with the commander's 300 build power, I suppose it's not impossible. It really isn't. More Scuttles coming up. Oh my goodness. We have just gone for the absolute limit of Scuttle kind. Scuttle's heading out into the water here too. I mean, I just don't hate it. They're so efficient, especially in thin water like Supremismus. Sorry, I got really loud here for a second. We'll just enjoy this plasma fire. Very epic indeed to see those boats going up against each other, but just as epic probably to see is, of course, this Skuttle now getting ready to ram its head directly into these boats. And yeah, like I said, I mean, even if this thing just blows up one destroyer, it's an efficient trade. 755 metal and 27,000 energy. Whoa, it didn't kill the destroyer. Wow. I'm actually extremely surprised that destroyer didn't die right there. I thought for sure it would have. Still extremely damaged, but didn't die, so I guess that is the important part. Flat coming up here, but AGO was taken. Yep. The AGO is ultimately the scourge of many an Isthmus player. Oh, unless it barely survives by the repair power of the construction turret. It looks like that thing will survive. The flak turret manages to knock out a whole bunch of these bombers here. Build power has gone down, but I think there's not enough bombers at this point. Oh, whoa, 4%. 4% gaming right there for Shoddy. Manages to keep the AGO alive. Oh, nope. Oh, 4% again! 4% twice in a row right there. Those bombers just barely unable to kill that Geo. Oh my goodness. About as close as it gets right there. I'm sure Shoddy is fully clenched watching that Geo get that low twice before those bombers are finally shut down. That is a nail-biter and a half right there, but Shoddy did make it out alive and now has quite a few Scuttles to hand out on the map. The Yellow Commander with ultimately not very much energy production, has a lot of storage. I'd love to see this handed back right here. No reason for Spooderfriend not to invest in, oh, I don't know, some wind turbines or something. We are banking now 5,000, 6,000 metal, which should obviously be turned into a bunch more units or eco or something like that on the front lines. No reason to keep that wasted in a commander that's only microing Scuttles here. But that is ultimately the red team's strategic choice to do so. They can do what they want with their metal, even if it sometimes can feel sort of inefficient here. I can't believe that Geo survived. That Geo was not supposed to survive that. It was supposed to die twice, and it still managed to stay up and running. I won't even say the most perfect repair micro right there. It certainly could have been a little bit better, but still managed to... Oh, Scuttles! Scuttles! Both laboratories going down. So much lost on the front lines here. Sheesh. Those Scuttles have been strategic assets for just knocking out key infrastructure all over the place. It's not that individually those Scuttles will win this game, but it's the fact that they essentially turn off individual players for a little while. Suddenly they just don't have a leg to stand on for at least a minute or two. Starlights go down to the simplest of blitz on the front line is uncomfortable. Rattlesnake is up and running. We have Pit Bulls as well. That Rattlesnake a little bit blocked by its own static defenses, but trying it nonetheless to fire out into the distance and get some value. And ultimately here, it is going to be a win for C. Kane, the, what is it, 30 open skill player here in the water, the Seafoam Green player in the water right here, who is going to be making his way up and into the backline. How many scuttles does it take to kill a commander? That's a question I've never ever asked myself, but it is one that might be relevant suddenly, as Kane is now headed up onto land. There are some LLTs here, so those are quite nice. They'll be good enough to, at the very least, deflect some of the aggression right here from the Salamander, but obviously Salamander are also pretty tanky. Like, they can get to the backline and they can stay alive if you don't have a really specific tool to deal with them, and it looks like right now the Brown Commander and the Orange Commander both don't. Fiends are pretty good. I gotta say, Fiends are pretty competent at dealing with things like this. Otherwise, the Scorpion Turret is not bad either. 3 shots from a Scorpion Turret and you're out. Scuttle's going down. Yeah, you know, Scuttles are great, but I'm not sure they were the right tool for this particular job. C. Kane stops short of degunning down the space over here for the Tank Commander. Doominator does still stand. Maybe thinking better of it, but Salamanders are now rolling towards the base right here of David, who's going to build one of those T1 labs, hopefully to build about as a million shuriken as possible here. And instead opting to just go for the D-gun. Also a worthwhile choice. There we go. Easily wiping that Salamander out as it wasn't microed right there. There's some Fiends run out of the lab, and Shoddy is well on the way to finishing off the defense here. Usurper pushing forward right here, though. Those Starlights making very short work of T1 static defenses, and even capable of dealing with T2s relatively efficiently. Lightning tanks are out as well to deal with the blitzes, but my goodness, there's just a bajillion blitzes. And the commander goes down. Okay. Keeping your walking nuclear bombs right next to all your expensive T2 units, not typically advised for exactly that reason. The blue comm loses it all on the front right there during the counterattack. And now we have Ducks coming out right here. I think it's the perfect opportunity to go into Ducks. You have the production, you have everything you need. Now the commander for Kane is over here on the southern side, the Seafoam Green commander. And eventually will be dealt with. We do have Fiends running their way on over. We have a couple of bombers, actually, from the Red Commander have managed to make their way into the backline here. Looks like a killer bombing run, as you can see the scars of a bombing run back here, taking out a bunch of the wind energy economy for the Blue Commander. Still, that T2 production rages onwards, and it's not going to be too difficult to set up further economic venture. Kane trying to escape right here. The Ducks in the water, though, going to be impossible to degun. Uh-oh. Boom goes the Seafoam Green Commander. Overstepped and overstayed his welcome, and now suddenly the Tank Commander is avenged as those Ducks get out into the water and start to, well, try their very best anyways to deal with all of this. What on earth was that? Some sort of long-range plasma cannon fired away. Was it the Tremor? Something fired away right there. There is a Tremor off the coast right here trying to fire at whatever it can. Needs to be sent to the front line or something. The Brown Commander has handed everything over, I guess, to Browning Auto Rifle. Tactical missile sent up in the air. Coming on down right on top of that T1 laboratory. Nicely done. Key strategic strike right there from that TAC missile. Looks like it might even be within range to take out this one in the backline here as well. Shutting down that spam is great, though. Oh, there we go. Oh, it is an LRPC. LRPC up here has been harassing down the bases quite nicely. Oh, it all makes sense now. Nuclear missile coming up very shortly here as well. Shoddy trying to degun down this base here, and it looks like both of these commanders trying to claim this. Are we going to kill our teammates? Oh, okay. I thought we might be trying to kill our teammates' metal extractor. How cringe would that be? Especially considering this all belongs to Doominator anyways. Ducks here have done terrifically. I think, honestly, if we just spam out Ducks for the next 3 minutes, we've completely retaken the sea. The Seafoam Green Commander has gone into those T2 boats, but T2 boats are so slow to produce that by the time you have a critical mass of them, you can have about 1 billion Ducks in the water. And they're very, very good once you mass them. Ducks are very easy to snowball. They do a relatively high burst of damage. If you utilize them correctly, they're pretty much unstoppable. See, this is why Shoddy is OP, says one of the co-commentators here. Sunshine had Nuke's eco from Frontline Nuke by this time yesterday. Interesting, yeah. Love the extra commentary here, but I'm going to go ahead and mute it. As we see a nuclear missile coming up and running right here from the Orange Commander. Likely using a large portion of the economy saved up right here by the Yellow Commander. Nuclear missile up and running right here for the red comm as well. My goodness. The red team has gone just about absolutely thermonuclear. Ducks headed across the sea right now looking for whatever value that they can. The, what is it called? Tremor Heavy Artillery Vehicle is now shelling away at the front line right here. Obviously, doesn't take much for the Tremor to be effective. It just sort of picks an area and saturates it with as much firepower as possible. It doesn't really aim, it doesn't really think, it just knows to fire more DACA. And that works, right? I mean, especially against the spam right here. As the spam comes out, the impulse from that is quite dangerous. Torpedo bombers now firing away here. The core torpedo bomber is actually very easy to over micro or under micro. They overkill quite easily. They launch one large torpedo, which, while quite powerful, indeed, that one large torpedo is quite good. Obviously, it also means that targeting lighter boats can be very punishing. You lose a lot of that firepower, especially if multiple boats suddenly target all at the same time. Fighters are clashing. Red fighters trading out against the purple, but it looks like the purple wins the dogfight here. Ultimately, the numbers are in their favor to trade out, well, relatively positively anyways. Still not a terrible trade for the red commander, but definitely a win right there for the purple. Interestingly enough, we're not seeing a transition into seaplanes, though. We're just going to keep expanding. Okay, we're just going to keep expanding on the fusion reactors here. Not the end of the world. That fusion reactor scaling can be very powerful. If we're going to go for this, I would love to see a bunch of T1E converters set up over here. T1E converters can be really efficient with fusion reactors because you just don't spend any metal on E converters. It means that all your metal can go into fusion reactors. You can scale them almost as quickly as aphises with quite a bit less build power if you're really primarily focused on it. Ducks have now made landfall and taken down some metal extractors, but I think it's time for the nuclear charade. Nuclear missile up and away right now into the air and arcing its way across the map right here. I don't see an anti-nuke. I don't hear an anti-nuke right here from the blue team, and that nuclear missile lands right on top of the blue base. Boom goes the entire blue facility as T3 production just barely came up and running. Erg, cries out Usurper. Yeah, fair and valid as the anti-nuke starts up, but obviously without build power, that's going to just take ages before that comes up and running. Now the blue commander has to look into building into the backline if they want to keep this going. Boring AF, cries out Booza. Always worthwhile to cry that out whenever you're losing in a game of Beyond All Reason, or you take a heavy hit in Beyond All Reason, just so that everybody knows that you're not trying that hard, right? It's not as embarrassing if you're not really trying very hard. LRPC firing away here. Actually scuffs up that laboratory pretty good here. Not bad. Is this nuclear missile ready? It sure is. Orange nuclear missile is up and running. Where are we going to put it? Skyhook has been built. Okay. Oh. You sly dog. This is the shoddy Nostradamus right here. It's the Skyhook mammoth drops, I do believe. Wow. Booza really throwing a tantrum in chat today. Love it. Love to see some good salt mining. Bar players crave that mineral. We've got a commander in a transport, and we've got mammoths in transports. The armored transports are actually relatively difficult to shoot down. These Cortex transports are pretty tanky. I mean, even T2 anti-air defenses can struggle against them. Really, the only thing that I would say really super convincingly wins against these is the T2 fighters. What are we doing here? Nuclear missile up in the air, by the way. Coming down hard on the front line. Boom goes that Cortex thermonuclear missile, delivering a whopping 1 billion kilotons of power directly to the front line, and now the mammoths are here to play. Yeah, you can see those T2 or T1 fighters don't do anything against those T2s. Oh, that is too funny. Yep, there we go. The blue team, after realizing that they've been gamed, has thrown in the towel, as the red team, with more fight, more spirit, and more planning, manages to take the win in this game. Showing off some downright nasty strategies, some beautiful tactics, and some hilarious gameplay. What a wonderful, wonderful match. Thanks a ton for watching. If you made it to the very end, I always like to invite you guys to join the Briarworks by subscribing down below. And feel free to join the Discord, which is always located in the description down there as well. A lot of fun stuff and where I get most of these replays. Hope you had a wonderful time, though, and I will see you in the very next cast of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.